each time that you do look at your phone for a news update, it does seem as though it's changing all the time. It is a fast moving situation, but yeah, we would certainly hope that, yeah, as things, dare I say, calm down in the region, as you say, then yeah, we will see some of these restrictions leave us in terms of things like ground time, overnighting. But obviously, yeah, most importantly for our clients is that we see that the additional premiums are reduced, if not waived.
Welcome to Global Marketplace Insights by Willis, a WTW business, a podcast series showing the latest trends from the specialty and regional insurance markets.
Hello and welcome back to the Marketplace Insights podcast series, where we've been discussing the current state of the aviation and space market. I'm Paddy Richardson. I'm Managing Director and Head of Airlines at WTW Global Aviation Space, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Paul Baker, Managing Director, Global Aviation and Space. Hi, Paul.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
So it's been a tough couple of weeks, I think, for a lot of people in the industry, airlines, ourselves to an extent, and the insurers. How's it been for you, Paul? What's been going on?
Yes, I think all of the above. Yeah, tough. I think all of us have a saying that there's rarely a dull moment in this industry, but I think certainly over the last 2 or 3 weeks, that's certainly been very much put into play. I mean, it's been, worrying times, an incredibly busy time for all of us and our clients. But yeah, I think we're working through it.
Yeah, and it sort of takes me back a little bit to Russia-Ukraine, when no one thought something was going to happen. It was all expected to sort of blow over, and it certainly didn't, and that conflict is still going on. I sort of feel this time that the chances of something happen were a bit higher. People sort of assumed that something was going to happen between the US and Iran and Israel, but clearly what happened after the first sort of munitions were fired was kind of widespread across the region. What was it like for your clients specifically? What happened kind of day one, day two across the Middle East?
Well, I think first and foremost, I think that a number of us I think if you keep up with the media, I think there were these rumblings of something happening in the region, but I still remember waking up at that Saturday morning and having that, oh wow moment, this is really happening or has started to happen. So I mean, in the initial, or that Saturday morning when it happened, I think the first questions was to ring around, certainly for the clients that I look after that operate into the area, was frankly a case of, do you have aircraft in the region? And fortunately, the clients that I do look after either didn't have aircraft in the region, or the aircraft that they did have, they managed to get out that morning, sort of very, very rushed. And so, yeah, I think from that perspective, clients I look after, they'd done everything that they could possibly do. So yeah, but even speaking to them with the intelligence that they've got, I think this was a surprise to them as well. So I think that they reacted as quickly as they could, particularly on that Saturday and for the rest of the weekend. But yeah, I mean, there was a busy weekend for a lot of us, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And it was, so the process that we went through with our clients was essentially trying to understand what exposures they had in terms of aircraft that were in locations affected. Of course, we've got many clients that fly in and out of the Middle East, and a lot of them, perhaps it was not straightforward, but it was just cancelling flights and making sure aircraft weren't there. But of course, we've got a lot of clients in the region that couldn't do anything other than ground the aircraft sort of where they were.
No, I mean, and I had a call from an insurer that afternoon, said, we understand that so-and-so has got an aircraft there. What are they doing? And there is that moment where you say, well, yes, the aircraft is on the ground there, but the airspace is closed. So even if they wanted to, the aircraft can't come out. At the moment that airspace did open and it was safe to take the aircraft out, they did. But for the clients that I look after are not based in the Middle East, but did have that issue of having passengers stranded in the region, both ways of sending nationals from the Middle East back home and also getting their own passengers out, which obviously, was a major logistical problem for the airlines.
And it's, there are coverage implications, of course. I mean, there's the concept of the grip of the peril means that the aircraft that were in that situation across the whole Middle East were covered. Insurers were obviously seeing a very, very different risk landscape, which I think is fair. Of course, there was a lot of difficult days, which continue even now, with a lot of aircraft on the ground and potentially exposed to a serious situation. To date, we're not aware of any confirmed reports of serious aircraft damage, but what the insurers didn't do, which was issue notice. Why didn't they do that?
I think the insurers did take a reasonably proactive stance on that in terms of not issuing notice and working with brokers and with their client base to ensure that notice wasn't issued. But personally, I don't feel that they would have been right to issue notice, but you could see a situation where they felt that they have to do something here. Or it is a 7-day notice period under the whole war policy and obviously the primary AVN 52 aspect of coverage. So, but yeah, glad that notice wasn't issued and that we, alongside our clients, were able to work with insurers to avoid the issuance of a notice.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I completely agree with that. The airlines' primary concern is obviously protecting their people and protecting their assets, that they're always going to do, and a huge amount of credit, I think, should go to the airline industry for making themselves available to the insurers.
Yes.
To say what was going on the ground, what were their contingency plans that were being put in place, and of course, what was the sort of security and risk management information that they were getting that would feed into their processes. Very developed and deep in terms of the information they have available to them.
You absolutely can't underestimate the value of that. Our clients were able to talk to their insurers directly about their current situation, and that allowed their insurers to hear basically first-hand news on the ground. And I think that, as far as I'm concerned, I think that hopefully gave insurers the comfort that the airlines were, of course, taking this seriously and were putting mitigation in place. So I think it was a real good combined effort from everybody to keep everything on an even keel, which at a time when, life was looking quite tense, obviously.
Yes, indeed, yeah. And we sort of moved forward through that first week. What then happened was airspaces were opened in some corridors. Airports were able to reopen some slots for aircraft, and people were able to get people out, get people in, move aircraft, and actually the start of, I wouldn't say normal flight conditions, but some scheduled flights. And of course, there's a need for cargo and expatriate people and things like that. So at that point, airlines were starting to operate back into the region to some locations, not all. And some of the airlines based in the region were starting to operate. And that's where we had to reach mutual agreement with the insurers, because notice hadn't been issued. But what was the steps that we all took during that period that kept things on an even keel as possible?
So ordinarily, in order to make any changes to the policy, insurers would have to issue a notice to do so of 7 days. And that's to review rate of premium and or geographical limits. I think it was a case that in lieu of an issuance of notice, I think that we and the insurers came to an agreement in terms of additional premium charges that were going to be applied, that we obviously then took to our clients. And it was simply a case of explaining the situation to our airline clients, explaining that there wasn't going to be any restriction in terms of the coverage, i.e. coverage was in place for performing these flights, but there were going to be an additional premium charge, and obviously with some additional subjectivities limiting ground time, flights being performed during daylight hours, but probably most importantly, the fact that flights were being carried out using internationally recognised air corridors, so long as that they remained open and that it was safe to do so with airlines monitoring NOTAMs. And so I think we worked really well in terms of our airline customers to get that running as smoothly as we possibly could.
Yeah, and it's, again, a volatile period. And from our perspective, I don't think there was a broad consistency from the insurers in some of those charges being applied. But that's where our job comes in, to ensure that
Absolutely.
consistency and actually get the appropriate information, and for insurers to understand the exposure is different in different locations, for different flights, for different types of aircraft, and use that to get the best possible terms, which is what our team have been doing for the past couple of weeks.
Absolutely. I mean, as you know, we've had daily, sometimes twice daily calls on this, because it's such a very, very fast moving situation where and we all knew that as soon as there was a situation where airspace opened, we would know that our clients would want to go there to, first and foremost, to get their nationals out. We understand that. And I think that we worked really hard a number of the team to make sure that our clients were adequately protected and were able to perform these flights. And having to get coverage put in place at very, very short notice, which I think to a whole we did.
No, and difficult for the airlines at a time when fuel prices has obviously spiked, almost doubled, I think, as at today's pricing, to be charged extra. But I think it's fair to say that the risk landscape is different now, and the insurers are providing cover. They haven't withdrawn cover. They are seeking mutual agreement to different terms and conditions, but they're still providing cover, and it's fully available for passenger and cargo operations almost anywhere in the Middle East.
No, definitely. I mean, I've certainly got nowhere where where an insurer said, no, I'm not willing to cover that operation. Okay, there is a negotiation in terms of the pricing for the covering of that operation, but no blanket refusal to offer coverage. So, as I say, it's certainly been challenging because, as we know, when additional premiums get set, that is then subject to agreement of the full panel of insurers who are on that placement, which obviously airlines, we know, want to perform these repatriation flights as quickly as possible once they're able to do so. But obviously, we're having to work with, a vast panel of insurers where it can be up to 25 to 30 insurers participating on a placement. Each one of them have got to be spoken to, explain the situation, and most importantly, they've got to agree that, or we've got to get their agreement for those flights. So.
And this is continually under review. I mean, clearly we're pausing for breath right now on the basis we can even spend 10, 15 minutes doing the podcast.
No, definitely.
So we are pausing for breath, but this situation is ongoing. I wish that we had, between us or anyone, could give us a timeline on what this war will look like over the coming days and weeks. But clearly this situation, the airline operations, it's going to be under review. We're going to be continuing to negotiate for our clients the best possible terms, because if this does scale down, the risk changes to something more acceptable, and therefore charges should be reduced or waived. And this is going to be the daily workload going forward for us and our clients.
Oh yeah, I mean, I absolutely couldn't agree more with that. I mean, it is a case that each time that you do look at your phone for a news update, it does seem as though it's changing all the time. It is a fast-moving situation, but we would certainly hope that, as things, dare I say, calm down in the region, as you say, then we will see some of these restrictions leave us in terms of things like ground time, overnighting. But obviously, most importantly for our clients is that we see that the additional premiums are reduced, if not waived. So.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Paul, for your time. I think if there's anyone listening that has got more questions about the coverage side of it, about the implications for airlines, or certainly how these charges are being looked at, and needs any assistance, the team will always be available as needed. And we just all hope that the situation improves and people and assets are protected, and it comes to an end as quickly as possible, but difficult to predict.
No, most definitely. That's the one thing that we can't do in this industry is predict. But just a message in general to our clients. It's just we are here to help and support you through what is another challenging time for us.
Yes, I think back over my career from 9/11s to up to more recent events like Russia-Ukraine. As you say, things don't stay stable for long in the aviation industry. COVIDs, SARS outbreaks, any number of them, and all we can predict is there will be more in the future, but we'll be here to protect our clients and help them through all of those challenges.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, thanks, Paul, for joining and your contribution to this episode of the Marketplace Insights podcast, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you for joining this WTW podcast, featuring our latest global market commentary. WTW offers insurance-related services through its appropriately licensed and authorised companies in each country in which WTW operates. For further authorisation and regulatory details about our WTW legal entities operating in your country, please refer to our WTW website. It is a regulatory requirement for us to consider our local licensing requirements. The information given in this podcast is believed to be accurate at the time of publication. This information may have subsequently changed or have been superseded and should not be relied upon to be accurate or suitable after this date. This podcast offers a general overview of its subject matter. It does not necessarily address every aspect of its subject or every product available in the market, and we disclaim all liability to the fullest extent permitted by law. It is not intended to be and should not be used to replace specific advice relating to individual situations, and we do not offer, and this should not be seen as legal, accounting or tax advice. If you do intend to take any action or make any decision on the basis of the content of this podcast, you should first seek specific advice from an appropriate professional. Some of the information in this podcast may be compiled from third-party sources we consider to be reliable. However, we do not guarantee and are not responsible for the accuracy of such. The views expressed are not necessarily those of WTW.
Copyright WTW 2026. All rights reserved.